the 4th, our current interim superintendent, Dr. Avery, is left to pick up the pieces. He inherited he inherited a district in crisis, hundreds of positions eliminated, schools understaffed, and not only the state scrutinizing his every move, but also the community. But despite all of this, Dr. Avery has brought stability. He's building trust. He has kept programs running and ensured our children continue learning, even when everything else felt uncertain. Dr. Avery has proven himself to be a leader and a man of his word. He has given the district hope when it's needed its most, and to the state, especially the Commissioner of Education, where are you? Why does this chaos persist? The gap between our inner cities and the rest of the state grows wider every year, and you continue to stand by, watch, and do nothing. Tonight, the board has the choice to protect the stability of our children, children finally have, or risk making them start over yet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Resto. Steve Nelson. Hello.
Hold it.
There you go. You're all set.
I'm sorry. I want to say hello, congratulations to all the newly elected and the returning elected and our Board of Ed team and community. I thought this was a budget meeting, so I showed up just to be nosy, but I didn't know we had the opportunity to have public speaking. So since the opportunity is here, I do want to say a few concerns that I personally have, and I know a lot of people in the community have. So the first concern I want to bring to your attention is I have an autistic grandson. He's 8 years old.
Mr. Nelson, I just have to stop you. Today's a special meeting, so it's only on items on the agenda.
Only items on the agenda. So I am out of place
But you
speaking
can speak
public.
to any of the items on the agenda, and
Anything
we'll
on the
take
agenda?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So no one gave me an agenda. Is this the agenda?
Is it up there? Yeah.
So you can only speak about what's on the agenda?
Yeah, for this special meeting. On a regular meeting, you can speak to anything.
Okay, so can I get a quick look down and see if anything, so unfortunately it doesn't. It is not something that I want to speak about, but I promise to be at the next board meeting.
February 7th.
Just to have this kind of dialogue. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Sorry for the.
But stay around. We're talking about the budget today, so. Mr. Benahan Grajales. Okay. So we're moving on from public speaking to approval of the minutes from the special meeting on January 15, 2026. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes, special meeting dated January 15th, 2026.
Motion was made by Mr. Sakalovic. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Benahan. Any discussion or debate on that? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Days.
Mr. Sakalovic abstains. Moving on, that passes. We have some committee reports and referrals. I'll start with the Operations Committee, which met last week. We discussed 3 items on today's agenda that will be brought before you, including some capital plans for an elevator project at 66 and HVAC control for the BMA. Those are going through the capital budget. So when Ms. McCarville speaks to it, you're going to speak to it today, right? She'll explain a little more to that. And we're also looking to approve the seed grant, which Ms. Hughes will speak to, I believe, right? Or Ms. McKinley. All right. Our next operations committee is scheduled for the first Wednesday of the month. So next Wednesday will be our operations committee. Just so you know, the budget will be talked about. So I'll take referrals, but the budget will be talked about on that committee. So anything else, Mr. Kalvik?
Yes, I'd like to make a referral, either to finance or later on, if the other committee is approved, for the board to come together on a strongly worded editorial to the news and press release. Something that the superintendent wouldn't be able to really say that we could.
Regarding the budget?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Traber, do you have, anything from the Instruction Support Services Committee?
Yes, Madam Chair. The Instruction and Sports Services Committee met last night. We discussed and forwarded to the board, full board, a number of field trips. And some contracts which will go to the full board. I don't think it's on tonight's agenda, so it'll be the next full board meeting. And we had a very good initial discussion about the adult ed program, and took a look at the beginning of the year, sort of how the PAC PTSO programs are doing with regard to being organized and being aware of their money and spending their money. But the most exciting thing was taking a look at adult ed and how it is going and what we can start looking toward as we expand its approach into the community and working with other organizations in the community. So it was a good meeting, and I look forward to the next one, which will be the fourth Wednesday in February.
Thank you. Mr. Sakalovic has a referral.
Yeah,
If
so they-
Mr. Sakalovic or anyone else has a referral, I would ask that you email it to me. I'll be there in about 5 minutes, but I can't write it down now. I'm driving down there. So
Okay, thank you.
I'll
I
email
can't.
it as well. I'll email it as well. I just want to put it on the record. Like
thank
to
you.
No worries. I would like to refer the exploration of Eid el-Adha to be added to the calendar for a holiday.
Okay. Mr. Estremera Jimenez?
Yeah, I would like to refer to ISS, the consideration of making report card conferences and during the week of Thanksgiving break so that have increased instructional time rather than having 2 different weeks with
Happy.
half days. We would have just 1 week with half days. That would also help with parents, having to find after school care and all of that. It would only impact 1 week versus 2.
Mr. Woodson, I know you haven't met yet for the policy committee. Do you have a date for your next meeting or your first meeting?
Just looking at my calendar. I think with Danielle, we schedule meetings for the third Wednesday. Not positive, but that's on the 18th of February. So hopefully
Okay.
we'll have our first meeting then. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sakalovic? We'll email you the referrals, but Mr. Sakalovic?
Yeah, I want to look at the 9,000 series. I believe they should be just about ready. Most of them have been looked at already, and they should be ready for prime time with a couple of amendments, possibly, or discussions about amendments.
And then the 3,000 and 2,000 series? Read your mind, okay. Anything else?
Yes.
Mhm.
I wanted to bring up an email that we got from CABE about policy updates. And it was around the ICE situation. And that email from CABE actually called for updates to be included into our security and safety plan. So I wanted to refer that to the policy committee to make sure that our policies are updated. And I'll email this as well. The other referral that I had for policy was around doing a board report card. We were chatting about during different CABE trainings, a board self-evaluation, and I think a board report card would be helpful. And some of the items we can put on there is attendance, you know, attending meetings on time, reducing the phone usage during the meetings. So those were the two different referrals I had for policy.
Thank you. Seeing no other, we'll move on to the first, I guess, item for action tonight is the request for approval for a one-year sabbatical leave commencing in August of 2026 for Ms. Swirsky. This item does qualify for executive session. If we go into executive session, the board will go in with Dr. Ciano, Dr. Avery, and Ms. Swirsky can join us as needed, and Ms. Saxon as well, Becky Saxon from the union. So is there a motion to go into the executive session?
That's a little first.
We could discuss a little first.
Yeah. I'm just curious as, I've never actually done one of these.
Oh, your mic needs to go on.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Never actually done one of these in 8 years on the board. Now, normally, employee issues could be sensitive in nature, but this being a sabbatical, right? In sabbatical, it's kind of involving the use of taxpayer funds and being given time off to do something. Is that the correct classification of what this is going to be asking for?
Yeah, Dr. Ciano, can you speak to that?
Just quick broad strokes. I don't want to go into anything detailed.
Hi, good evening. I think it qualifies for executive session just because it involves a personnel matter, but these type of things could be public forum. It's just the decision of the board.
Right. Yeah, I'm just concerned with the use of taxpayer funds, and we want to know that the taxpayer funds are being used responsibly, which I'm sure they are. But with the history of this city and putting things behind closed doors that don't necessarily need to be, kind of conflicted on that one. I may abstain. Just wanted to put my thoughts on records, so.
I think not knowing the situation, I think executive session we should do that first. And then if you want it, if we decide to share what we want to after, we should at least know what the situation is first. Just given it is a personnel matter, but that's my opinion. We could take a vote on it. So is there a motion to go into executive session? Moved by Mr. Traber. Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Shamir Hernandez. All in favor, say aye. We're gonna roll call vote. When you're ready.
Mr. Benahin Grajales. Mr. Woodson,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes,
Mr. Sakalovic,
No, for the reasons already stated.
Ms. Burks Jennings is not here. Mr. Daniels,
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Traber,
Yes.
Mr. Medina.
Yes.
Okay, that is 2, 4, 6.
Benahan.
Yes.
Mr. Benahan passed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, okay.
Okay, so we will
motion
go
carried.
into executive session. Those online, you'll receive a second link. You can join the session that way. Danielle's.
Madam Chair, where would it be mailed at? I'm driving.
Right
heading
to your-
aquaculture.
Oh, right to your email. If I need to, I have to call you in with my phone, on my phone.
Okay, would you
All
mind
right.
calling me in?
I'll call you in, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll go into executive session. Alrighty. I think. All right, we're back from executive session. It's 7:13. Is there a motion?
Yes. Motion to request for approval for 1-year sabbatical leave to study support to improve student outcomes for multilanguage learners commencing in August 2026 of Ms. Swirsky.
Second.
Second was made by Mr. Traber. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Garbage. Good. Alrighty, we're all set with that one. Next up, we have approval of the contract for the elevator modernization project at JFK 66 Magnet School.
Good evening.
Hello.
This project is to modernize the elevator at JFK 66 Magnet. It is funded with capital funds. We received approval from purchasing for a cooperative purchase in the amount of $265,357. The city attorney always has us do an agreement to the cooperative contract, and that is the agreement we're bringing forth for approval.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve of the contract for the elevator modernization project at JFK 66 Magnet School.
Second by Mr. Traber. Any further discussion or questions for Ms. McCarville? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the next item is the approval of the HVAC control contract for Bridgeport Military Academy.
This contract is to update all of the controls at the South End facility where BMA is currently. We currently have 2 vendors who do the control work within the district. This vendor is CTC. This is why this was a qualified purchase. It's in the amount of $495,290. It's been delayed for a few years because we only had $300,000 in capital funds. So the remainder of this will be using a DRIP grant from the state of Connecticut.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Motion was made by Mr. Traber. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Estrella Jimenez. All in favor, or any further debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, Ms. McCarville.
Thank you.
Next item is approval of the seed grant. Ms. McKinley? There's heat in the building, Ms. McKinley.
I have thin blood. Good evening. I thank you for this opportunity. I am requesting approval of the proposed budget for the Special Education Expansion Development Grant. It is $2,624,295. This grant represents a critical investment by the state in strengthening our district's ability to meet diverse needs of our students with disabilities. And as our students' complex needs continue to grow, this is going to help us build our special education program and to enhance it. We're looking at adding like additional social workers, pre-K teachers, and then curriculum that's going to be used throughout the district for continuity, as well as additional instructional materials and supplies.
Is there a motion for the approval of the seed grant? Mr. Traber make the motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Kalovic. Any further discussion or questions, debate?
Couple of questions.
Mr. Kalovic, go ahead.
Just it's to be spent on new hires and all that stuff, right?
So we're not going to use it on a lot of staff because it has to be staff that's going to work directly with students. So in the grant, we are adding additional social workers and pre-K teachers. And we're really making sure that we're not loading it heavily with staff because we want to make sure that whatever we use it for, that we will be able to sustain that in the future.
Right. What about paraprofessionals? Are we adequately staffed at the paraprofessional level?
Currently, because of, I would say in some of our classrooms, we have a ratio of 1 to 4, we have a ratio of 1 to 2. So within our classrooms, and definitely some of our teachers would probably say otherwise, but when we look at a staffing ratio, we are appropriately staffed.
When you say appropriately staffed, appropriately staffed by permanent, certified, or substitutes, Kelly, or whatever?
So currently we have, when we're talking teachers, we have like, I think 2 teacher vacancies, paraprofessional vacancies. I can't give you that number, an exact number, but when we do have vacancies, we are filling those vacancies with Kelly and Delta staff.
When is the last time we hired a certified paraprofessional for special education?
So when they come in from Delta and Kelly, they have received, I know for sure with Kelly, that they have received training, and she actually just sent us a complete list of all of the training that they received.
Correct. That, maybe this question is to Mr. Cena. The last time we actually put somebody on payroll on a permanent basis as a special education paraprofessional.
I would have to research because again, that is one of the things that we haven't been using Board of Ed paraprofessionals. We have been using Delta and Kelly whenever there's been a vacancy for paraprofessionals.
Something we really should look at. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions regarding the seed grant? Seeing none, Mr. Bodina, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just taking a look at this about the unlocking life potential, the way this is titled on the top. No, not allowed uses, and I would like to know what is this referring to or means. On the first line, it says it's not allowable for administrative functions. Then it says operating expenses related to the provision of special education and related services. I know that's very broad, but I'm just making sure that it says that we cannot use it for that.
Correct. It has to be used for specifically for students. So if we're going to hire staff, we can't hire administrators. We can hire, related service staff, we can hire paraprofessionals, we can hire teachers, because they will be working directly with the students, but it can't be like administrative positions.
Thank you.
No,
Mr. Sakali.
yeah, Mr. Medina, you brought something back to my mind. There's a little more to that section you read. It also said something about contracted services, I believe.
That's absolutely correct.
Third-party vendors.
No third-party contractors or vendors.
That's correct.
Correct.
So that would negate using.
So that would
Kelly,
negate using
but
Kelly
still
and
allow us to use,
paraprofessionals in this.
permanent.
Yeah.
A permanent, that would be qualified, but
Or parents.
Kelly would not. Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, all in favor for the approval of the seed grant, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes. Thank you, Ms. McKinley.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the presentation, the budget presentation, the fiscal year 26-27 Bridgeport Public Schools and Nutrition Center operating budget presentation. We have Dr. Avery and Ms. McWool presenting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to apologize up front, guys. I am like a little bit under the weather. my voice is going away, so I got some hot tea here I'm gonna kind of sip on as well as we go through. Nestor is going to join me for this presentation uh, as we go through. And Sam, are you gonna run the PowerPoint for me? Here you go. Perfect. I will be actually doing most of the presentation, but Nestor has a few slides that he will be expanding on as we go through the presentation. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Avery, the interim school superintendent. This is my proposed budget presentation to the board. To make sure I cover everything clearly, please allow me to walk through the full presentation first, and then I'll open it up for clarifying questions at the end. And I'll begin with the story, begin with the district goals, improving academic, you know, improving academic achievement and strengthening teacher support. We must be fiscally responsible while addressing years of historical underfunding. We are committed to providing the community with a full transparency around the budget, particularly as we respond to the audit findings to achieve our goals. The intent is to, one, clearly explain what's driving the cost of educating kids in Bridgeport Public Schools. Number two, how we are reallocating resources to make that and to meet those goals. And three, measures to really contain the cost of educating the children in Bridgeport Public Schools. Again, overall, this is a story of chronic underfunding in addition to cost drivers that are driving the cost of educating kids in this district. And ultimately, our purpose is to maximize funding in support of students, teachers, and administrators. Next slide. I provided, I don't have it. Nestor holding my clicker here. Here, what I've done here is I provided a letter to the board. It's really kind of underlining this whole presentation, really making sure that, that they understand the magnitude of what is behind the development of this presentation. It talks about the goals that we both agreed on. And then it also talks a little bit about the proactive steps that we've taken as a district and as administrative staff to come to the final recommendations that I'll be providing you later on in the presentation. The table of contents really kind of gives the board members and the community a roadmap to follow as we go through these major components, because it's a very comprehensive report. It's going to take a little bit, so please bear with me. But I want to make sure that we're clear and we give you the necessary tools to be able to make great decisions as we move forward in the budget process. Let's talk a little bit about the district goals. The goals that we created earlier in the year, and that both myself and the board have agreed upon. We talk a little bit about that first goal. Talks about academic achievement and equity. I think it's very, very important as the taxpayers provide additional dollars and the state provides additional dollars. We have to make sure that we maximize academic achievement for children. And we need to measure that. We need to figure out how we do it, and we do it very well. So it's important that is the high point of the district goals, is making sure that we do it and we do it right. And we give our kids that opportunity and those options to compete with all the other children in the state of Connecticut. Number two talks about the district-wide strategic planning process. One of the things that the board has really, made clear to myself and my staff is that we have to get a 5 to 10 year plan moving forward. So whenever they settle on a permanent superintendent, they're going to take that responsibility and take it forward and work with the community and the board in order to be able to develop that 5 to 10 year strategic planning process. So this is a really the beginning portions of that. So we're getting a little sneak preview of how that happens and how you engage community as we build that plan with the community. As we turn into goal number 3, family and community engagement, we have to do a better job of communicating and making sure that the things that we do in this district is transparent across all aspects of community and all communities within this district. And so I think we've done a really good job of really trying to, get the input from our community staff and administrators. And I think we've done a good job at that. Goal number 4 talks about fiscal responsibility and sustainability. Again, we've had a history of underfunding opportunities that this district has faced over the last 10 to 15 years. And we got to do a better job of being able to advocate for the dollars for the children that we serve in this district. And then when we do that, we have to have a sustainability plan in order to make sure that we're doing it right. And then we do our checks and balances year by year to make sure if we're doing it wrong, we got to get it right. And I think that's the part of that fiscal responsibility and the sustainability piece. And then the last goal talks about talent recruitment and retention. If we're not able to attract teachers and administrators, to this district, or even attract families to this district, we have to be able to build upon the greatness that we have in this district with the teachers and administrators that we have in this district. And so we have to strengthen the recruiting process that we have to make sure when we get teachers and administrators in this district, we keep them here. And that talks about pay, that talks about a lot of working environments and those types of things. So those are the goals that we stand by as we move through this process as well. When we talk a little bit about the fiscal priorities, I think as we started this whole process, and remember, this is a brand new process for most of my administrative staffs because most of us are new, and even for the board. The way we're doing this budget process is totally different than what the board has been used to over the last couple of years. As the last CFO left the district, all those processes and procedures also left the district with all new staff members. So one of the things that the state has really done a good job of is making sure that we move to this new, school-based budget modeling, to be able to give more input from principals and teachers and directors around the district in order to build this. So we talk a little bit about in those priorities, structurally balanced budget. Every year, the board and the superintendent has to be able to provide a budget, and the budget has to be balanced. But within that year's process, sometimes the budget gets out of whack. But when if you have a fiscal plan to be able to work through and understand how these things work, and you calendar those things out, it makes it easier for things to get fixed along the way, and not wait to the end when you get a budget that's inflated and you're not able to kind of meet that balanced budget piece. And so we have to be able to take those things in consideration as we develop this budget. So we've done that. We talk about number 2, school-based budgeting model. The Bridgeport Public Schools have never done a school-based budget modeling. And if they have, it's been 10 to 15 years since we've done it as a district. And what that means, school-based budget monitoring, is that you got to get to the ground floor of where, and what campuses are needing. So you have to get and have an opportunity to talk to principals and directors, boots on the ground pretty much, about what they need within their buildings. And so we've took almost over 400 hours in the month of December talking to principals and understanding their needs and really making sure that we provide those opportunities to have additional staff, instructional coaches, some of the things that we talked about moving forward. So and we're going to get a little bit more in detail of that school-based budgeting model and show the community a little bit more on how that works and what happens when it happens and when you do it really, really well. Fiscal accountability is just ensuring fiscal accountability through continued integrity, transparency, reporting, and systems. And I can tell you, as one of the largest school districts in Connecticut, when you look internally in how we do our business in this district, we have a lot of antiquated, procedures and internal controls. And so what we've done is we've looked at how and what we need to do to make those internal reporting and processes, and using technology to be able to help do that. So that is a work in progress as we use the Munis system until its full capacity, and really working through and making sure that we can have reports to the board at a punch of a button. Right now, we don't have the capability of doing that. We do a lot of things manually in this district, and we have to move away from that. So again, it's all about that, the fiscal accountability piece. And there's a lot of work behind the scenes that we have to do as a leadership team to make that accountability, and make ourselves accountable to the process. So the system has to change in order for us to be fiscal responsible and accountable for the things that we do. And then you look at that last fiscal priority is talking about comprehensive fiscal management. And so it's not just building a budget, requesting, items on the budget. It's about, being able to understand, why am I spending? What is the need here to be able to kind of really understand, the sequences of how we do and reiterate and put out resources that we have, and are we maximizing those things? And so again, it's very intense. It's one of those things where it needs to be, again, a comprehensive piece and kind of work from there. And my internet has been out. Just a second, I'm going to hold for technical difficulties. Budget issues. I like that one. Sam, you may have to get out and get back in. There we go. Perfect. Yes, sir. The fiscal year 2027 budget drivers, and what these budget drivers are, the things that are driving the impact of our overall budget. As you see on the screen, it talks a little bit about utility costs, building and maintenance, special education, that's tuition and medical services, transportation, wages and benefits, educational services, and equipment and maintenance. And so when you look at the total budget drivers, that's $26.4 million from our budget that goes to these specific areas. And on the left-hand side here, you see the amounts of money that is spent within those categories to make that $26.4 million budget drivers. Some of those cost pressures are within our control, while others are driven by external factors beyond the district's direct influence. These are largely mandated, contractual, or unavoidable cost of living increases impacting this budget. Now we're going to roll into a little bit about student enrollment trends. The district-wide enrollment has recently recently stable in the recent years, but increases in special education and multilingual learners is showing a steady increase yearly. So one of the things about this slide is, what's really changing here. The student needs are changing. So when you look at, our student population is about 20,000 plus students. And when you look at 50% of those students are either special ed are multilingual language students, that takes up half of the student body that we serve in this district. And so the student needs change. And when you're educating children with special needs and language barriers, it takes a lot more money to service those kids. And so, again, the student needs of our district has changed. And so the funding increases of our district needs to change as well. Let's talk a little bit about the MLL, trends in the district as well. Multilingual language enrollment has increased each year. This continued growth increases instructional, staffing, and language support costs and is a key driver to the district planning as well. Bridgeport has 3 times as many MLL students than the 7 surrounding school districts around Bridgeport Public Schools. During the last 5 years, the percentage of increases of MLL students has increased 51%. And that's a lot. In fiscal year 25, approximately 124 students achieved the seal of biliteracy. And I think that's something to be proud of because we're serving more kids, but kids are performing as well. And I think that's very, very important. We move into the budget driver of special education trends. Special education enrollment, again, like I said earlier, has steadily increased in recent years. The growth continues to place upward pressure on staffing, specialized services, and mandated supports, and remains a significant driver in the district budget. Special ed as a central cost driver, is the enrollment is also increasing. We're having to increase the services that we're providing children and the specialized support that we provide students as well. We budget for special ed based on legal obligations, not by discretionary choices. Special education, spending has substantially, increased in all categories. But I want to pull out at least 2 of these categories to kind of talk a little bit about. That's purchasing services and special education tuition. And so, because those 2 areas of the special ed cost have risen, greatly over the last couple of years. Total special education expenditures shows increase of more than $30 million from fiscal year 2021 to fiscal year 2025. Again, from 2021 to 2025, the increase for these services has grown to $30 million. And that's a lot of money. And again, when you don't get fully funded for a lot of these mandates, it's hard to kind of meet the needs. Let me kind of explain a little bit further. Special education must be managed through both strong programming and cost controls. And that's the tricky part, because programs have to be provided to all children, regardless of what they bring to this district. As they come in, we service them. And we try to provide a necessary program to meet their needs. And so, because we're mandated by federal law to make sure we provide those things for children. Let's talk a little bit more in depth about the purchase services as well. The greatest increase, over the last 4 years has been in this area of purchase servicing, in the amount of $16 million. Within the purchase servicing, $7 million increase in transportation, $4 million in subs and paras, and then $4 million in medical services. And board, there's an appendix that has the detailed breakdown for you so you can review those as well. Let's talk about the weight-related increases drivers, and so we'll go into that a little bit as well. From fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25, the former superintendent hired 10 additional central office staff, K6 content directors, 3 executive directors, and added 10 additional assistant principals under that superintendent's tenure. The district also reduced the number of general education teachers by maximizing class size, which resulted in fewer classrooms overall. So when you look at, another slide I have on for you, I'll kind of give you a little bit more detail. non-instructional staff, like, restorative practices, personnel, counselors, social workers, library, assistants, all those, individuals were also reduced. Let's talk a little bit about, certified and non-certified staff. Central office staffing is now at its lowest level in several years. This reduction has occurred even as the district continued to expand programs, services, and resources provided and to provide direct services to schools and students. This demonstrates that the district has already made significant reduction to central office administration, reinforcing that the organization is not top heavy. Instead, we're prioritizing school-based investments over administrative growth. And you can see that on the graph presented to you here on the screen. Again, again, um, the staffing level shows we are keeping central office costs down, and we're putting more resources directly into the school and students. And you can see that over the years how the graph shows a peak, and then it's coming down. And as we project for 2027, we're not projecting any new administrative positions at central office. And here is a detailed report, board members, to kind of give you who those individuals are. We didn't put names on them, but the positions are there for you to consider. For fiscal year 25, student per administrator, this graph shows, a comparison between Hartford, New Haven, and Waterbury. For every 204 students, there is one administrator in this district. So when you look at, the calculation for administrators to, in that comparison, it further demonstrates that Bridgeport maintains a lean administrative structure relative to similar sized urban school districts, that staffing decisions have prioritized efficiency rather than administrative growth. And I want to make sure that I emphasize that, because there's been a lot of misconceptions about, Bridgeport Public Schools, central administration being top heavy. We are lean and mean. And I can tell you, I can applaud my administrative team. They are right there behind me, fighting the fight every single day. And I do want to acknowledge and extend that thank you to them as well. Let's talk a little bit about, student to teacher ratio. For every 14.5 students, there is a teacher in this district. And when you start looking at the comparison, there seem to be very similar between Waterbury and Bridgeport here. But if we down to what New Haven is providing 12-to-1 teachers, we would be, because we service a higher need student in the classroom, then that would be a better situation for our staff as well. And I can tell you, if there's principals in the room, they can tell you, teachers are always talking about reducing that class size down. So I think it's important that we really take a look at this and be able to kind of address, because this affects, again, class size and instructional support that's needed in the classroom. And so it's very important that we take a look. That's why it's part of my presentation. Another major, budget driver, collective bargaining increases reflect the cost of maintaining the same level of service at the same staffing levels while expenses continues to rise. So I'm going to let Nestor kind of talk a little bit about, what this slide represents.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nestor Nukor. I'm the CFO for the
Payments that we make with our unions, and it totals about $8 million in general. We're going to move into other operation expenditures that are part of the budget drivers as well. And the first one we're going to go into is transportation. Transportation remains one of the largest cost centers, increasing from 28.6%, 28.6 million in fiscal year 25 to a projected $32.7 million in fiscal year 27. A huge impact on the budget. This increase reflects the same services at a higher cost. Because every year the cost of transporting kids goes up every single year. The district is not routes or adding services, but the cost of transportation, again, it rises every single year. The district operates under a 5-year transportation contract. It started in year 2022 and it ends in 2027. And that includes defined annual escalation rates, resulting in predictable year-over-year cost increases. The transportation expenditures are closely monitored through daily bus routes, daily bus rates to ensure oversight and cost control. However, the structure of the contract limits short-term flexibility in offsetting these increases. And I think one of the things that the state technical assistance team has done for us, and you'll see that further in my slides, of working with the bus transportation company to get a reduction in costs of about 0.5%. And I don't have the number of savings right off the head, but it's in my next slide. So we'll give you a little bit of insight when that slide comes up. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. Other budget drivers. And the first one up here talks about the substitute and paraprofessional services. The district utilizes contractual services through Kelly and Delta under agreements running from 2021, and the contract ends in 2026. These contracts include stable and predictable market percentages, and making substitute staffing costs predictable and reflective of use rather than administrative growth and staffing expansions. The other item on the screen talks about utilities. We all know from our own experiences at our own homes that utility costs goes up year after year after year. The utility costs are projected at approximately $9.9 million, and they're very carefully monitored across multiple categories. We talk about electricity, gas, water, sewer, and telephone. So all these expenses represents essential operating costs necessary to keep schools open and operational, with increases largely driven by market rates rather than services being provided. So again, I want the community and I want the board to truly understand the impact that we have to do when we're trying to, maximize the dollars that is given to the district. Let's move a little bit into the school-based budgeting model. And I think I won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I want to emphasize this is a brand new process that this district used this year. I know the board is not familiar with it. I know the principals were not familiar with it. Directors were not familiar with it. But I think it's important that we go through what that is. And the school-based allocation model is grounded on empowerment, giving principals the power to be able to figure out what they need in their buildings. Accountability, once we provide those things for them, we hold them accountable for making sure it gets done. And then the equity talks about making sure that it doesn't matter what school you're in this district, you should be able to get the same amount of things given to you that every other school in the district is given. And then you talk about transparency, being very open to making sure that everybody's involved in the process. And so that's kind of what we've done. And so when you look at the core components, you're talking about position allocations. Again, making sure that if principals feel they need things, they're able to kind of look at, an allocation sheet to see exactly where we are. And I have a sample for you here on the next slide. We talk about operational allocations. That's money given to the campus based on student enrollment. For elementary schools, we did $30 a student. For high schools, we gave $35 a student. And then these are dollar allocations for campus principals to do what they feel they need to do with it. They have control over the dollars and how those dollars are spent. And then you talk about teacher choice allocations. That's, again, $30 a classroom, based on the October 1 payroll. And then they're getting those, and they can do things like materials and supplies for their campuses. And then there's a parent engagement component. Every single campus in this district is getting parent engagement allocation dollars to be able to engage our parents. And we're really trying to kind of streamline and make sure and hold campuses accountable for spending the money the way it needs to be spent. That is $6.54 per student in their building. And that's 1% of the Title I allocation. And that funds have to be spent on parent engagement across the district. Another new item that the board has in their possession is an annual budget planning guide. Again, this planning guide, with the help of the state technical assistance teams, help to develop. When you're going to do budgets in this district, it's going to be done a way that's going to be systematically done, and it's going to be all calendared out. And I can tell you this year, we started a little bit late in this process. So a lot of what we're doing is being rushed through to meet the deadlines that the city and to get budget approved. And so we apologize for, streamlining and getting things moved forward. But I think moving forward, next year's calendar is going to start probably at the end of August, beginning of September, and we'll have plenty of time to do the things we need to do. But this is a brand new guide. Each year it's going to be updated. The calendar will be updated, and we work from there. And board, you have if you click that link, I think we sent you guys there's a detailed budget line item you should be able to have at your exposure as well to really go through the detailed budgetary pieces that you'll be able to go through. It's a pretty lengthy document, so be prepared. This is a sample of what's in the budget manual as well. It's an allocation sheet. It's an allocation sheet that's used for every single individual conference with principals and directors to talk about if you have a building with 1,000 students in it, you're going to be able to get this allocation, to your building. If you have a campus with 400 students on it, you can go to this allocation model, and it tells you exactly what type of staff you're going to be able to get in your building. And that's just the transparency of what needs to happen. In the past, it didn't happen that way. It was top down given to the campuses, and they just had to live with it. But what we're trying to do is being able to, and again, this budget, this school-based budget model is being used by several different school districts in the state of Connecticut. And with the guidance of the state technical assistance team, they help us create our own manual to meet the needs of our district in order to make sure that we have a documented proof to where the board could hold the administration accountable, the community can hold the board and the administrator accountable when they view this. This budget manual is posted on our website. And we want the community to dive into it and ask questions, because at the end of this presentation, I'm gonna propose a couple of community forums where the board, myself, will go out to the community so you can ask questions about what you're hearing tonight, the budget numbers, all those things, because again, we're trying to be transparent as we do this whole new process for everyone. When we had the conversations with our principals and directors, we asked them the things that they wanted, the things that they needed to add value to the work that they're doing in their buildings. And so this slide talks about the increase in paras, that all the campuses were wanting to make sure they worked with. Instructional coaches. You see on the instructional coaches line, over the last couple of years, the district never had instructional coaches. But if we had instructional coaches, this is what the academic department thought would be very, very helpful for campus to have individuals to help support academic growth within our buildings. MLL, there's 10 plus teachers there to add to making sure that we have qualified individuals to support multilingual language students across the district, and again, and so on. So again, it's important to underscore that we did a deliberate balancing act towards priority of the needs of the campuses and the certain academic groups that we wanted to make sure that we work towards. In total, the school-based budgeting model, and the ask here on the board here, it sums up to be about $8 million increase in the budget. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that impacts my ask of the board when we get to the last couple of slides in the presentation. So we'll come back to this because I want to make sure that the teachers and the principals and directors in this district understands, yes, we are in a fiscal, hardship going on in this district right now, but their voice is heard, and their voice is going to be, hopefully will resonate to the board in order to make sure that we're asking for enough dollars to be able to do due diligence and give our kids the advantage that the other kids have across the state of Connecticut. Then we're going to move into funding sources, and I'm going to give the mic to Nestor here in a little bit to give you a little bit more detail behind the funding sources. But I have a couple of slides that I'm going to kind of talk about. Fiscal year 2026 budget appropriations. So when you see the pie chart here, and these are three major areas that impact the financial budget in the district. You talk about major grants, that's 26% of our budget, that's about $85 million. You have the city contribution to our budget, which is about 25%, which is about $81 million. Then you have the state ECS funds, which is about 49% of how we get funded in this district, which is about $164 million, for a total of about $331 million that helps run this district. And those are the three major funding sources that impact how and what we do and the services that we provide for children in Bridgeport Public Schools.
What you're seeing here is the operating revenues that the district uses to fund their annual operating budget. Annual operating budget means it starts beginning of July and June of next year. That's the cycle of the fiscal year. It's broken into three categories: ECS Alliance, city share. It tells you how much the city of Bridgeport contributed each year towards Bridgeport education system. The other one is Alliance revenue from the state of Connecticut. The fiscal year 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 numbers are actuals, meaning they've been audited by the outside auditing firms. They are not budget numbers, they are actuals. 2026 is current year budget, and that's the allocation that we received, or the district received, from Alliance grant, city share, and state Alliance money.
There you go.
The next one is basically a historical trend or growth in revenue that the city of Bridgeport has received. The total shows you the total of growth in Alliance over the years. Basically, aggregate in average over 10 years is a rate of 1.85% growth. As Dr. Avery started saying, some of our costs are beyond 1.85% annually.
Let's dive into the grants a little bit. Grant revenue from 2019 through 2026. Over the past 7 years, grant funding increases, generally, and kept pace with the rising averaging approximately about 6% on average of annual growth. While grant growth has provided important stability to the district, these funds are largely restricted dollars. Therefore, we cannot fully barter operating cost pressures and structural budget gaps with the use of grant money. So we got to be very careful. There's a lot of restrictions on how that money has to be spent across budget across the district. Now let's go into the 2026 Alliance per pupil allocations, and this is a very important document to look at and to kind of take hold of. Alliance district funding in Connecticut is a portion of the state's ECS grant targeted to the state's lowest performing school districts to help close achievement gaps and improve student outcomes. It is an increase in ECS funding that Alliance District receives, which is why it includes is why it's included into the operation budget. Because as you see, the three components of what makes up the district budget. The ECS, which is the alliance money, is what makes that up. But I want you to look at the chart a little bit here. When compared to all other alliance districts, when you compare that with all other alliance districts, the disparities per student investment among districts serving similar student populations and levels of need underscores a funding challenge Bridgeport faces relative to some of the other alliance, districts. So you look at, these differences have real implications for staffing levels, instructional support, and the district's ability to meet growing student needs while maintaining equitable services. And on this screen, you see that Bridgeport gets, on average, 2,427. And look at New Britain and Waterbury. Yeah. Look at Waterbury's comparison. They get almost twice as much money as we get to service kids, in our district. And again, we're asking questions as to how does that happen? How can we, relook at that allocation for the alliance per pupil allocation? Now you look at, this slide talks a little bit about, approximately 729 positions were supported through grant funding, representing an investment of about $129 million. While this funding enables the district to meet important student needs, it also underscores the district reliance on a one-time limited and restricted funding source to support core services. And so again, it's just, you got to understand the details behind the numbers to really impact. So I'll take you to this slide here. Bridgeport Alliance funding compared to peer districts. If Bridgeport Public Schools were funded at the average per pupil rate compared to Alliance districts, the district would receive about $14.6 million in Alliance funds as a proportional share of its total ECS, bringing its total for fiscal year 27 Alliance allocation to $63.2 million. If they kept up with it, we should be at that $63 billion. And we wouldn't be here talking about the needs of this district if we had those allocations. And so as we start our advocacy, approach here come the beginning of February, which is a couple of days away, the session opens, we're going to really, kind of talk a little bit about this and be able to kind of have not only staff, board, and community, we're going to get everybody on board to really look at, those ECS, allocations, and hopefully be able to make a difference in the advocacy that we do for Bridgeport. Bridgeport deserves it, and the time is now. Going into the operational budget.
The next slide is strictly the general fund operating budget, which is mainly what the city contributes for us to run the operating budget and other revenues from the Alliance grant, from the ECS grant. The numbers you see there, 22, 23, 24, 25 are actuals, audited numbers, audited expenditure numbers. 26 is the current year budget, which is the appropriation combination of the city contribution and the alliance. There's a section of Alliance that's called, a section of ECS is called a pass-through. Basically, the state sends $164 million to the city. The city contributes their own $81 million and pass it on to the district. That's the way it works. Strictly general fund budget. The next one is general fund budget for next year. Now, the number you see there is strictly the requested budget for next year is strictly keeping the district at status quo, meaning no additional hires, no extravagant thing, but to maintain the core major budget drivers that Dr. Avery had indicated, the $26 million, the increase in special education, just to maintain those core services. Absorbing the cost of living increase, we are not adding anything, just the basic maintenance of current year level of service. Here you see to do or to implement or sustain that status quo budget. The budget is going to increase $47 million from this year to next year to maintain those status quo without adding any additional functions or any additional programs. Just to be flat, the same level of service this year being carried into next year does not acknowledge what the principals have asked. So basically, it's broken down into three categories. Employee compensation, salaries and compensation is $18.4 million. Other reversal of programs that were assumptions that were implemented or adopted in this current year budget that did not materialize is $23 million, $23.1 million. Other operational costs, that's how you get the 47 million. Again, this is status quo without adding any additional requests from any department.
Now, now we drive into the net current expenditure per pupil, the NCP. And I think it's important that when you look at the 5 Connecticut school districts that's listed with the high student enrollment, and you see where Bridgeport lies. So when you look at per pupil allocation, Bridgeport stands out because its net cost per pupil is substantially lower than the other 4 school districts. That indicates that a significant gap in per student investment compared with its peer districts. So as you look at Stamford, New Haven, and Hartford and Waterbury, they spend that much more than we spend on our children here in Bridgeport. So you look at that 18,000 per student compared to 23,000 per student in other districts. And that's substantial when you look at that. And so we have to kind of, even the playing field a little bit, because I think that's going to be important moving forward. So Bridgeport's is grossly underfunded in comparison to its peer districts. Bridgeport receives $48 million, in total Alliance grant funding. Waterbury receives $86 million in total Alliance grant funding. And so out of the 166 school districts in Connecticut, ranked by the NCEP from highest to lowest, Bridgeport, out of 166, Bridgeport is 160. When you start comparing, the per pupil expenditure that school districts are spending per child within their district. Again, you're looking at the net current expenditure per pupil compared to surrounding districts. This is just another visual of that so that you can see the disparity per student spending is substantial, with gaps ranging from $1,000 to almost $10,000 per student that other districts are spending on educating children. And again, so the difference here underscores a significant inequality in the funding levels related to the neighboring district and highlights a constrained resource available to support students in Bridgeport Public Schools. Now we're going to roll into what I think what most people are here wanting to see, right, is the superintendent's proposed budget.
Sure. We're here almost at recapping the whole budget presentation. In summary, like I said earlier, just to maintain status quo from this year to next year, the district is going to need $47.7 million, which is a $16.2 million increase. Then there are some other requests from the principals and administrators and some other increases that are attributable to bring the total budget request, the total combined budget request from all aspects to $61.6 million, which is a $20.9 million, 20.9% request increase. Then the superintendent
And then for the 27, for the fiscal year 27, the superintendent recommended budget request to the board at this time, and we will consider some other options as we have deliberations and have a little bit more time to kind of work through these recommendations, is $44.1 million, which is an increase of 14.9%. This 14.9% budget request is not about expanding programs or growing administration. It's about preserving services, meeting contractual obligations, and addressing student needs and sustaining operations in a fiscal responsible manner. The district has already reduced costs where possible. Now seeks the funding necessary to maintain stability and continue delivering essential educational services to students. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we as administrative staff has went through to try to, stabilize in these efforts of keeping the budget down.
The current year budget is total of $294 million. You're gonna see this breakdown of the $61 million, $61.6 million increase we talked about. $47 million of that is status quo, maintaining the budget status quo into next year. You have $13.9 million additional cost to it, which is in the board package, fully detailed. The numbers are there and underneath the 13.9. When you add both of them together, you come out to the $61.6 million increase to next year budget. If you add the $61 million to $294 million, $294.4 million, you get $356 million of total requested budget. Then the superintendent took some actions to reduce that $61 million increase. You're gonna see the breakdown of the actions, that reduction in expenses and revenue reimbursement, quick total $17.5 million. When you take the $17.5 million, when you reduce it, you're gonna come down to the number of $44 million that's still increased from current year budget that's still needed. The same thing here is pretty much a breakdown of the requested budget. $8 million increase in school-based budgeting. Basically terminated contract program next year. That's how we got up to, I'm just trying to explain how we got up to the 17.5 million. Operational account free savings, we kind of lowered it to $1.5 million next year. Reduce health insurance from 20%. Initially, they had said health insurance was going to be 20%, but finally we met with Siegel and they said 14% is what is ideal going into next year. So that reduction, that 6% reduction is a savings of, or reduction of 3.6 million. The same thing with health insurance for grant employees is a reduction of $1.1 million. Then we're going to reduce another professional learning program, 500,000. The total of those combination of those items is 15.9. Then we're going to get revenue reimbursement of $1.6 million next year from Nutrition Center because we're covering their the district is paying for their retirees, so they have to reimburse us the money we fronted on their behalf. So that's how you get to the $15.9 million.
Again, talking a little bit about, I told you we're going to come back to the savings, talking a little bit more about the fiscal stability efforts that we've made. We currently are under a budget freeze for only non-essential goods and services and personnel. We've also had the principals go through an exercise where they were to look at their current budget and see if there's any fluff there that they can add recommendations to us to be able to reduce their current budgets as well. Again, we've had community forums and thought exchange opportunities. We talked a little bit about we are working with on behalf of the state technical assistance team, working with our transportation vendor to obtain a 0.5% reduction in fiscal year 27, resulting in about $163,000 savings, which is very substantial when you look at in the big scheme of things. Again, and thanks to George and his team, they did a great job of retrofitting, LED lighting in our 26 schools, which right now would generate a savings of about almost $988,000. The other part of that is being efficient in with how our custodians are cleaning buildings, and so we invested in new technology for them to be able to do that cleaning faster in order to get the jobs done in a reasonable time. Again, we're very fortunate to be working closely with the city, our state delegation, parent advocacy groups, and community partners to ensure increased funding sources for the students and families of Bridgeport Public Schools. And I can say I'm super excited and proud that we've gotten so many community outreach to say, hey, what can we do to help? What do we need to do to advocate? And I think we're going to have even a better showing in Hartford this year to make sure Bridgeport gets what they need for the children that we serve. And again, I think integrating the 34 recommendations of the audit into our day-to-day practices. And so that is huge for us in making sure that that we're filling all the gaps in this district when it comes to financial stability. And so I'm very proud of that. Again, this collective action demonstrates that we've made deliberate and sustainable efforts to manage costs responsibly before seeking any additional funds. And so as I somewhat conclude my presentation, I want the board to be reassured that we've looked at everything in this budget, and things that are necessities and things that are luxury. We tried to make sure that we streamlined all of that in order to get to this budget recommendation for you. And so I'll come back again here to talk a little bit about the status quo is essentially the same as last year. My recommended budget reflects fiscal responsibility. It also makes clear our limitations. This approach does not allow us to grow, strengthen our systems, or fully meet the needs of students and staff. We cannot continue to ask our students, our teachers, and our principals, and our entire staff to do more with less. That approach limits our opportunity, strains our workforce, and slows the progress of this district and of all the hard work that we've done thus far. Over the past several months, we met directly with our principals and our leaders. We listened carefully to what they need in their buildings to move schools forward: staffing, instructional supports, student services, operational resources, grounded in the day-to-day school realities. The $61.6 million school-based budget request reflects those conversations, and they were very serious conversations. This is not an inspirational spending. It is a practical, reasonable investment built from the ground up by the educators and leaders of this district with the students in mind. This is about building on momentum, not limiting it. We're seeing progress and success across our schools. We're pulling back now would undermine the very gains that we've worked towards to sustain and to expand. That's why we're presenting these options today to the board. This is a shared decision point, one that reflects the values, the priorities, and our commitment to this community. Bridgeport Public Schools deserve that commitment from all of us. Myself, my administrative staff, the board, and this community, to stand together to fight for the funds for these children. And then that's the important piece of why we've done and why we've changed how we do the process of building a budget for this district. And I can tell you, moving forward year to year to year now, we have a plan. We have a model to use. And hopefully your job to us is to hold us accountable to that model. And when you don't understand the model, you need to reach out to me and my staff and let us explain that model to you. When the community doesn't understand that model, they need to do the same. So that's the hope for this budget. And again, I think it's important that I say that because it's coming from the heart. And I want to make sure that this is not an easy task. I inherited a mess, and I intend to clean it up if given the chance to do that. And so let's talk a little bit about next steps. Next steps, we're going to have a board community budget forum. We want the community to come out. We've had tons and tons of forums, guys, in this community, and with very limited people coming out. So if you want to have a stance and you want to have a say, come out and join us. Understand the process. Let us teach you how to do it. And we want your help. We want your input. So we're gonna be announcing at least one community forum over the next couple of weeks, and we want you to come out to help us do that. We're gonna have a board budget workshop, and that's when the board is gonna be able to kind of dig deep and tell administration what they feel is needed in the district, because I think their voice is very valuable here. It's a partnership. It's not a one-directional piece. So the board I've given you a lot of information, a lot of numbers, a lot of data, but that's what my job is, to provide that for you to be able to impact, the development of the budget. Because that's one of the critical, tasks that you have as board members, is to approve a balanced budget. So that's my job, is to help understand that and work towards getting that done. And then we'll have, send around the February 7th, Nestor will need to be able to get a number from the board to ask the city for the city share. And so the board's going to have to come up with a number for him to make sure that he add to the city's budget, to say the Board of Ed is requesting this amount of money. Additional money, and we all know what they provided in the past. So we need to step it up and do what we got to do and ask for a little bit more, and really try to hold them accountable to getting us there. And then there's a couple of other areas where the mayor has to submit their budget to the city council, and then in March 23rd, the mayor submits proposed general funding budget to the council, with our recommendations in that recommendation as well. And go from there. Again, in the appendices, you have a completed budget spreadsheet. You have the nutrition budget, and you have the annual budget planning guide. And I think Nestor's going to address a little bit about the nutrition budget, and I think the director is here to follow up with any questions.
I'm just going to basically say the nutrition center next year budget is in the board package. I gave everybody a hard copy. It's pretty the same number, the same current number that they have in their current year budget is what they're requesting. So the same exact number, they have some flexible room within their budget to be able to live within that number. Again, nutrition center is somewhat a quasi entity, kind of an enterprise fund kind of it. They have their own fund balance, meaning their fund, when they run a surplus, it stays within their fund balance. The district cannot use any surplus that nutrition center runs at the end of the year. It's pretty the same budget. Kioma, who is the Food and Nutrition Center director, basically moved line items around based on need. Like he purchased vehicles this year. He's not going to need it next year, so he reduced those line items. He did buy a big freezer this year. He's not going to, which is a very expensive freezer, if you ask me. But he's not going to need those money. So he kind of realigned his operation based on need. Unless anybody has any question, but the board can very well take a look at the detailed budget. It's just a movement of line items. It could be done through budget deliberation. If you have any question, Kioma is here to tell you the price of a breakfast. I don't know the price of a breakfast. Maybe he can.
And Madam Chair, again, I want to thank everybody for hanging in there with me. I know it was a long presentation, but I think I needed to be a little bit thorough in my presentation for you. Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you. If there's any clarifying questions that need to be addressed, I'll be glad to address them, and I'll be glad to take those on.
Okay, so just to reiterate, we're just doing clarifying questions today. We're gonna have a workshop where we're gonna delve deep and go into discussion on this. So just asking for clarifying questions on, it's a lot of information, so we're not gonna go into discussion just yet on it. So Mr. Spalovic's been eagerly waiting. You can go first.
I kind of don't like this, go through the whole budget first, because then the questions get kind of stale. I like to break it up into sections, because I find it more efficient that way. Because now we're going back to page. All right, let me just start with my questions. What's our current enrollment numbers?
I can't understand what you're saying, sir.
Current enrollment numbers?
20 students?
Yes.
PJ, the last I know is 20,000 or 19,000. 19,800. It changes every day. Okay.
Thank you.
19193.
19,103. Okay, we've got. I'd like to go to slide number 10. You got, I'm not sure if it's the same pages because we got a little bit of thing. We got bed purchase services.
Yep.
Got human services with a jump from 24 1.866 to 4.6 to 4.2, a 4.2 difference from. Yeah, this like.
Madam Chair, to clarify, it was a wrong classification of recording expenditures. If you go to other services, you're gonna see the flip-flop. In 2024, human services was 1.8 and other services was 7.5.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, got it.
Thank you.
That's
In 2024, human services expenses was 1.8, call it 1.9 million. And other services is 7.5 million. In 2025, other services is $2.2 million. And human services is 4.6. The expenses were, when they entered both the expenses, they classified it in the wrong category. So they classified it in the wrong category. So it's a flip-flop. It's still just about the same when combined together.
No, when they were first implemented, they were put in the wrong category. What's on the paper is right. Yes.
Yes.
In aggregate, in total. Yeah. Sure.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Your mic.
You have under medical.
Can you put your mic on?
You said under medical services?
You have medical
I thought you
services.
said
You have medical services.
the last column was 4 million?
Okay.
Yet you went from
Let's
almost 5.5 million to 400,000.
Human services, 1.8 million. Do you see the asterisks are there?
No. You're in your initial report. I'm asking a clarifying question just to make sure I understood your presentation. I don't want to.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, is that 355,000 correct?
Oh, no, it's 3.5 million.
It's 3.5
Oh,
million.
yes.
Okay, that's
Oh,
what
no,
I wanted.
no, it's three.
You
That's
left out a comma, and I just
Got
wanted
it.
to
It's 3.5.
understand.
It's 3.5
Okay,
million.
that's it. That's the only question. Thank you.
No, it's 3.5 million.
Turn it back over to Joe.
And now, all right, I want to look at, I think we should look at these in conjunction with each other and be more efficient. Pages 12 through 16, staffing trends. Mostly to administrative costs. This goes to the questions I've been asking for a while about central office staff and ECS. I see ended up with a number of, because the number was pulled from school and state finance, but it's a bit misleading because I've done these numbers myself, and the reason it's misleading, it's not intentional. These are the numbers that are actually up there, the 204.3. However, how that number was derived was by using 2024 staff ratios for that and 2025 enrollment numbers. And that gives a misleading, I'm worried about having the appearance of misleading the public to make it seem more dire than it is, even though it is dire, and we are very lean administration. But that'll be a point of attack. As you know, they attacked us before on administration, so we got to make sure our P's and Q's are crossed on that, and that's why I've been pushing for this number, because if I know if we look at the number, we basically the certified staff is 17, central office staff is 17 plus 81, that's 98. And you take that factor and you multiply it and you get the 2022, figure it out, 2022. And it's just sort of like a reverse algebra, but you're using two different
Again,
parameters.
I very well,
Right, if you go, that's why what we need to find out the real number is this year's student count and this year's numbers that would be going to the state. Last year, the numbers was 24 was 17 and 81. And the year after that was 27 and 91.5. So we got to take the numbers for this year and compare it with this year's enrollment so we can see how many pupils actually are being serviced by each administrator.
in a lot of cases, the state uses a year behind data to do their calculation. Yep.
Yeah, correct. But
We have to have a reliable source whereby we can say this is where we got the information. The problem is if you don't use a state-established data center, people are gonna say you fabricated the number. We're using a state-accredited data center. You're having an issue. I don't know what, I mean.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. Sakala, I think we had this conversation. The collection does not, our October collection does not finish until tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day. So we don't have an October number right now. It has to get vetted by the state. Everything's got to be set. That's why when you're looking at some of this stuff, they cannot do the calculations you're looking at because the October 1st enrollment, you got to remember, is not October 1st. It's from October 1st to January 31st. That's where you have the time to be able to update any problems, any concurrent registrations, anything that goes on within that time. So when it closes tomorrow, that's including the teacher count, it will not go up to EdSite probably for another 2 or 3 months.
Right.
So what you're getting with some of this data, you are getting what we have inside of our system, but it doesn't necessarily mean when you ask us the number of students that I gave you today, that's of today. That's not of October 1st count.
Gotcha.
When you ask me about staffing, that's the number today. That's not the number of the October 1st count. So for your calculations, when that comes out, then yes, we can do that once it's vetted by the state and we have those numbers locked in. Then we can go back and give you those numbers that you're looking for. But for now, we're not going to make any assumptions on that. We're giving you the data that we have based on the numbers that we have today, and that's what you're looking at.
Okay, so can we put an asterisk or something on the bottom with, and
Sure, we
We
could,
can do that.
we can definitely do that for you.
because all the numbers exist now, because I know when School of State Finance ran it, they probably ran it about the same time, because only the data from 24 was available for the staff and there was one piece of data wasn't available to calculate it all.
Yeah.
And that's the same number I came up with it, but I stopped using us as the leanest administration in the state because I couldn't really confidently say that anymore.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure we could still say that, but
Yeah.
the main point. of the
We
exercise
can
is-
do that. I understand where you're coming from, so we will make that asterisk and a note on there. This way, everyone will understand what we're doing, all right?
Thank you, I guess.
Tell me your name and what you do, sir.
Oh, sorry. PJ Carafa, Chief Information Officer.
You can say that.
Thank you.
All right, so hold on. Collective vote, I'm sorry. All clarifying questions, I believe. Done with that. All right, I just want to clarify right here. Transportation, page 20, chart 20.
20.
We got, just want to point out and clarify that, I just want to make sure my number's correct. Approximately $3 million in transportation go to students other than Bridgeport Public Schools.
That is correct. For next year, 3.7, no, yeah, about that.
About
Yep.
3 million.
About 3 million, yep.
So
that page again? I'm sorry.
20.
20.
20. So that's money that's not available to educate our students.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. Forecast. Substitute paraprofessional services. What's the, do we have the vacancy fill rate of them? Are they, because there's some,
A lot of the paras, pretty much, we do have daily vacancy rate for paras, even the permanent employees. We have to backfill them every day. And the permanent employee or permanent para advertisement is on the district website, is on Red Rover, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, let me just get you off because you're off the question, no disrespect.
Okay.
What I'm asking is the fill rate. When somebody is absent, what percentage of time is Kelly or able to fill that? Because there's a step, there's steps. And like if they don't have X percentage,
Yeah.
they got there's like a little penalty or something like that.
Yeah, I don't have that data in front of me. Chris, if we can kind of get that fill rate, information for Mrs. Sokolowik, we'll send that to you, sir, to the whole entire board. I don't have that data set in front of me.
All right, and page 23, I just want to point out that
It's clarified.
2, 3, and 4 have been done for probably decades. The operating allocation, the $30 per student has been done for quite a while, and the 35 in the high school. It's fluctuated from 25 to 30. This has been something that's always happened. The teacher's choice allocation has always been basically an insulting $30 per teacher, and teachers spend probably thousands of dollars out of their pocket. And then the parent engagement budget, that's always been a thing. It's been for a long time. These are not new. Right. I'm clarifying the information that was given us to make sure it's all accurate. And when we go forward.
And Manager, I didn't say everything was new. I said the allocation, the operation allocation is $30 and $35. I didn't say everything else was new. Yes, those allocations for teacher allocations and parent allocations, they have been they stayed steady. If the board would like to see that adjustment, we can do that as well. I mean, that's okay. But again, we tried to stay to try to give the campus a little bit more money to use for their operational budget. So that's why you see a change in that section. Again, there's been a model being used in the district, but it hasn't been consistently used in equity across every single campus, because if you've seen what I've seen, some campuses got other additional things that other campuses didn't get. But when you talk about equity around a district budget, everybody should be able to get the same amount regardless of what school you are, magnet school or not. So again, it's important that we follow a process and a model that we use. And that's kind of what we've done. We've kind of refined it a little bit to make sure that we get it right this time.
Right, okay, now, you just caused another qualifying question, because I'm sure you maybe misspoke a little bit. When you say equity, equity is not necessarily equality, because Marin will necessarily need more English language supports than, say, a school on the north end. So they would not have an equal amount of ELL teachers, because that would be ridiculous if the ELL population was not the same. So it's got to be equitable rather than equal. Or, no, you ended up saying the same amount as well. So I just want to just because somebody doesn't have the same as somebody else doesn't mean it's not fair.
I'm quite
I
aware of
just want to
that.
be clear. I just
I'm,
wanted to
I'm quite aware of that,
Okay.
but I think it's important that,
But
we look
we
at
are-
programs and then we will, adjust that. And if that means adjusting the allocation model, we can do that as well. So there's a little bit of flexibility there.
My
And-
comments and everything are not necessarily directed at our understanding. It's directed at their understanding out there.
Okay.
This is the first time a lot of people are hearing
I
this
agree
stuff,
with
so
you.
I'm going to clarify to
Yeah.
that.
And,
So people
and,
can
and what
understand.
I'll do, Joe, is I'll open it. If any community member that needs a little bit more clarity after they listen to the presentation, I'll be glad to kind of, have that conversation with them. So, because it's a lot. And so sometimes you got to hear it 2 or 3 or 4 times before you really get it, right? And so I'm willing and able to do that as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think this one's for Mr. Unquo. 28, the pie chart.
48. Get there.
Which one?
The pie chart on page 28, fiscal year 26, budget appropriations by funding source.
What number? What slide?
28.
28.
It's 28. Oh, it's 28. I'm sorry. Blind. Oh,
This one?
All right. Now this. Couple of things on this one. This is the 26 fiscal year 26, correct?
That's correct.
Where's the number 331 million coming from?
The grants, major grants.
What can you break down the grants for me? Because
One of them,
we had a $304 million operating budget last year.
it says other major grants besides alliance grants.
Which
They're right there at the bottom. It's Title 1, Title 2, Title 3, Title 4A, Idea 611, Idea 619.
so
it is
let
Atlantic
me try
grant.
this another way.
Yeah.
Maybe
Did
just
we
to
spend-
clarify your question, I think.
Did we spend $331 million last year?
On, when you include other grants. Those grants, being.
Are you including food and nutrition or something?
No.
Because the operating budget
I know.
was only $304 million.
I know, I did not agree with including grants. I knew it was gonna be confusing, but it's footnoted at the bottom. What makes up that 85 million? All those direct grants plus alliance grants of 48 million.
Yeah, because this
It's a little confusing.
this does not look right. If okay, now I'll get off that. If you could get us the breakdown of those grants.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll provide you a
Say your
breakdown.
name, say-
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Hannah Whitley, Deputy Grants Director for the district. That 31 million is inclusive of carryover grants. So those are all the titles. They allow carryover funds. So that 31 million is that carryover into this coming year.
Right, and my issue with that is it's included at the 26. The 26 budget allocations. And another issue I have with this pie chart is that the Alliance grant is indeed a part of the ECS and it's not color coded the same, so it looks disproportionate to the amount we are spending, the amounts we are funded by the state and city. I think we should have.
Thank you for that. I think what we'll do, we'll revise this grant, this particular slide and make it, a little bit more palatable for the average person to kind of understand. We grouped a lot of things and that's why you see the footnote there. And so we will try to make sure that we can, before we post, once we get the slide redone, it'll be done by in the morning. We'll give a different take on this particular slide. So thank you for that, bringing that up, Mr. Scully.
And page 30. Is there any reason we did not include the rate of inflation for comparative purposes?
Well, we're just basically showing the percentage, 10 years average increase that we received in those revenues. We could,
But I'm looking at this and I'm saying, oh, goody, we went up every year.
well,
Why is this a problem? We went up every year. Why is it a problem? I believe we should add a column.
I believe when I presented this, I said it does not match our cost of living increase. I clarified.
Right. But I mean, again, I'm not talking for us.
Mhm.
It's for the greater
Absolutely.
people that we're bringing this out to next.
Absolutely.
Good point. Again, we could do some tweaking on this one as well. Again, we've been behind closed doors for the last 3 weeks trying to make sure this presentation is accurate. We've done the best we can do, but I think, and that's what the purpose of the clarifying questions for us. So if it's fuzzy in your head, we need to make it unfuzzy so you can understand it, anybody else can understand it, and the community can understand. So thank you for that again.
Mr. Tabor?
Just because Joe is trying to make it clear to whoever's watching or listening, I know because he's done the work,
Absolutely.
that the information shows the average
Yep.
cost of living increase over the last 10 or 15 years has been over 3%.
Yep.
So it is relevant to see in a table like this.
I know.
And so to finish his point, based on his work
Mhm.
that he's shared with me,
Mhm.
it is relevant.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I agree with
Thank
you.
you.
Almost done, sorry. I remember we answered that already. Okay, the health insurance premiums, how much is that standalone? Just pull
Uh,
that by itself.
20 million, no, I'm sorry, 20% is $12 million. Then we reduced it to 14%, which is a reduction of 3.6 million.
38. And now we're going to, it was 38, now I'm going to 39. I would like, I'm trying to do clarifying questions and get stuff on this for next time because it'll be more clarified to the public. Page 39, the breakdown of net current expenditures per pupil, and Bridgeport is number 160. We're missing a very important talking points. In the state, if you break it down per pupil, city versus state, we are dead last or next to last. It depends what year and what in local funding per pupil. That's a very important talking point after session,
Yep.
going into the city budget cycle.
Yep.
And Mr. Sokolovic, I think if you would be so kind, I know there's a couple of things that you've been doing advocacy wise. I think if you can kind of sit down with my communication team to pick your brain a little bit on the points that we really need to, as a district, really kind of push for, I think that would be very helpful. So I'm gonna charge Tim and Giancarlo to get with you, to kind of sit with you. I love some of your advocacy points, including the videos. They're very, very powerful. And so if you can help us, help the effort, I would truly appreciate that.
Be happy to. Okay, I'm almost, really almost done this time. Got like a couple more. Now, could you clarify your thinking around you're proposing $3 million less than the status quo on the budget? Your request is 44.1 million and the status quo is 47.7 million.
Well,
Go ahead, necessarily. Let me find the slides.
Well-
You had it,
Yes, sorry, 42.
42.
Slide 42? Let me go back.
Yeah, it's 42 and 40.
because I mean, let's be honest, $61 million, $61.6 million total request is a disturbing number. We have to sit as a group, he has to take some management actions to try to contain the cost. Again, bringing it down to status quo, realizing that health insurance is going up 16%, 14% increase, and wages are going up $8.6 million in total. I mean, it gets to a point you have to really try to cut down expenses to the extent you can. You just can't say, pull a numbers and say, my status quo is 47 million, and that means you just have to not even show any management actions trying to contain costs. That's the way I look at it.
Understood, but we are now at the point of what we are requesting.
Well,
This
we're
is
doing
the,
clarifying questions and
The,
we'll get into discussion.
This is a
on this in the workshop.
this is a clarifying question about budget. I mean, this is a budget request.
Yes.
We are not at the point of budget cuts and cutbacks. We are requesting what we need to operate as a district, to operate the best way we can as a district. Why are we not asking for more? Can you clarify why we're not asking for everything, why we're not suggesting that we ask for everything the principals want and asking for money to add back the devastating cuts our children have?
I think as we go into our workshop,
I think that's
if we go into our workshop, we could definitely discuss that. And the board is the one that's gonna say what we want. We'll take his recommendation, but it's something that's gonna need further discussion. And I think you'll see in a workshop, we'll definitely be discussing that.
One more clarifying question about the principals, the department heads and everything. How comfortable were they in suggesting adding things back? Because I don't see librarians, I don't see kindergarten paraprofessionals for general ed, and these have been really, really big things that people have wanted for years. So were they comfortable enough to try to add adequate services to really function their buildings, in their buildings? Because it's the first year of the process, they might not have been comfortable enough.
Sir, we had a very fluid process that we used, and we had very honest conversations with principals. They were all individually there. And if you ask them, I mean, we pretty much said what was the need, and in making sure that their request was recorded and worked from there. So again, kindergarten para they're already reinstated. So we figured we were going to keep them in play. Yeah, trust me, I understand what you're saying, but again, we went through a process. We took every their requests down, and we tried to make, an effort to make sure their wishes were granted in a total number. So again, maybe they weren't thinking about, librarians or whatever. I don't know. But we have a recording of the request, and most of them are there to the best of our ability.
The other?
It's on the list as well, sir.
All right, thank you. That's all I have. And I'm gonna step away. I'm not stomping off.
All right. Mr. Traber.
Sorry. Yes, sir. No.
None. Well,
No.
no.
Your mic on?
That's my clarifying question.
Okay, your mic wasn't on.
Are these all new positions?
Those are all new positions.
Are they in the $44 million budget?
They are not. And if you take my parting words, we talked about the $60 million and the $8 million that was requested of administrators in the consideration of that. We're going above the status quo. We're going above just the bare minimum ask.
I got that. I'm just clarifying because we went through this presentation and then you got to page 42.
Yep.
And we had the status quo at 47 and we had this at 61. And you said you proposed recommended 44 and I wrote, huh? It just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
And
I know we're gonna have a budget.
for clarifying questions, Madam Chair, I'm hoping that the board will consider, the additional $8 million added.
Myself clear.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I understood the chair saying, this isn't the time. So I'll wait till it's the time. I just wanted to make sure I understood what we had before us. And so I understand and I will deal with it at the right time. So.
Right,
thank
so
you,
we
Madam
gotta,
Chair.
thank you.
Mr. Daniels.
Does the board recognize me? Thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
And I will adhere to clarifying, but my clarifying is really just comments through you, Madam Chair. and I had a chance to look at it earlier. So Dr. Avery, I just want to start by saying thank you to you and your team for the work that went to this budget. For those that know me, I'm a parent, I've been an observer, and now I'm a board member and someone who works in city government every single day, which is why I was late. So I most certainly know how difficult these decisions are. I know how complex they are. And I just want to underscore and go on record to your point around the chronic underfunding. I've been a Bridgeport resident for over 30 years. So while my experience on the board is new, my observation of our board, of our school district about underfunding is very true and very real. And so I just want to echo and just acknowledge that about the many challenges we're facing, they didn't start with you. They were decades before you started. So I just want to commend the hard work you're trying to do to stabilize the district and the hard work you and your team has been challenged to do without the resources. And I just want to just comment quickly, and this is clarifying, so you don't have to, you can't answer me because then I'm going to mess up the process. I most certainly promote and endorse the school-based budgeting, and I'm looking forward to the budget discussion because I too appreciate the principles and the role. While my colleague have said it's been done, but it sounds like you've done something a little bit different. So I'm really want to just give a shout out to your engagement with the principals. They have identified 8 million. And I know I'm looking forward to having that conversation to see how we can make sure that 8 million stays because they're the ones on the ground. They know what they need, and having friends in education, I support that. And I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
You, Ms. Medina? I'm just going around in a circle. Any clarification? Okay, for the discussion. Okay, Mr. Benahan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not gonna ask a question, but I'm gonna let all my colleagues ask the questions. But I have to give, I want anybody to do it with me. I want to give a props for you because it's not easy what you're going through. I know you and your team work very hard, and I really appreciate all your hard work and your team. I'm very proud, very proud because it's something you have to be one after meeting after meeting, things. And the most, I respect that sometimes you put your family on the side to be sure Bridgeport Public School be funded and be correctly the way it's supposed to be. So you and your team, I really appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you.
Sure.
Ms.
Thank you.
Eshamir Jimenez?
Thank you. I have a few clarifying questions. And I have a few, but other more detailed questions that I'll reserve for the workshop. But I do want to mimic what my colleagues are saying here, that these PowerPoint slides, you could tell the great effort that you guys put in it. So I really appreciate that. So going to slide 9, there's a negative number for instructional aid salaries. And my train of thought is, where is that negative number coming from? The 296,708. The second line, instructional aid salaries. The last column under 4-year category, 296, it's a reduction. And I couldn't.
4-year decrease. It's a 4-year decrease. The parentheses mean decrease.
Yeah, but I'm not aware of any positions that we've gotten rid of for instructional aid salaries. And so.
Come on, yeah.
So where you see instructional aid salaries, that is taken into account the Board of Ed paras for special education. And there has been a shift of moving from the Board of Ed to the contracted services. So that's where you will see the increase in the purchased services.
Oh, I see. Okay, so there's a, okay, understood. Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I do. I have like a bunch of notes written down, and then as I kept going down the slides, I was answering my own questions. So, slide number 12, I wanted to reiterate something that Mr. Sokolovic said here. I was very confused by fiscal year 25. I know we cut down quite a bit of central office staff, but that's not reflected in fiscal year 25 and that number 27. So it almost appears like there's an inflation. It almost appears that we're top heavy in central office when we know that we're not. So Nestor, you seem,
No, go ahead.
so yeah,
It was before the cuts? Before the cuts we made?
Those are before the cuts. The number 25, what you're seeing in 25 column is before the cuts.
it's before the cuts, yeah. And I realized PJ explained it very well, and I wasn't aware of that entire timeline, so that was very helpful. So I just wanted to reiterate, if we can install that asterisk and just say, these are numbers through, prior to October 1st or 2025 or before any cuts. Okay. Joe spoke about 16. On 17, I had not an issue with it, but there was almost like misrepresentation. If I look at this slide, it tells me that the average classroom size is 14 and a half. At least that's the way I'm interpreting it, when we know that that's not the case. I'm wondering if we can put some sort of point of clarification that classrooms can go up to a max of 28 or something like that, so that we can still keep that battle of, hey, we want smaller classroom sizes.
Well, it's the way the state calculates that. And that's all teachers. So it's an average of all teachers. So you have some, you have some classrooms that are lower. And so the average is going to be the average and not specifically, because when you look at Bridgeport's classrooms, they're at max. They're like that 24, that 29 for most, especially elementary schools. And so you're exactly right. It's just the data source that the state uses to calculate that. And Mario, if you're gonna speak, you got to come to the mic. Or can you guys give them
have
a
an
mic
extra
over
mic over
there?
Yeah.
Give them.
You can use this.
Say your name. And what you
My
do.
name is Mara Hughes. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. These numbers are based on all certified teachers, so it includes teachers that aren't necessarily in the classroom. Okay, so if you have a resource teacher, if you've got other support staff, that's just a general student to teacher ratio.
And in the district, we have teachers on special assignment that's also included in this number, which we're moving away from teachers on special assignments as well as we move through the years, because right now we have about 3 or 4 maybe
6
of those teachers that as they leave the district, we're not rehiring teachers on special assignment. That was just a way that they use in the district to kind of, don't let me say it, but yeah. So it muddies that calculation up a little bit.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to appear like, hey, we had reached that goal of reducing classroom sizes, when it's just, this is an average and it kind of
Yes, ma'am.
blends everything in. I think I figured this out, but I wanted confirmation. Slide 21. In slide 3, it says utility costs are going up by $1.4 million. But this number here from fiscal year 26 forecast to 27 budget request only goes up $400,000.
Current year, we're for utilities was being underfunded. We've been was in the budget underfunded current year. So we basically bringing it up to forecast. We're projecting to spend $9.5 million in utilities this year, at the end of this year. $400,000 you're seeing next year is the cost of living increase associated with it. At the end of this year, we will end up spending $9.5 million in based on usage.
But there's no, if I'm comparing 9.5 to 9.9, it's not a 1.4 utility cost increase.
It's based on the current year budgeted number, not the year end forecast.
Oh, okay.
Budgeted numbers, when you look at the budget for utilities, which we will talk in the workshop, you're gonna see the budget, total budgeted line item for utilities, when we do the workshop, in the line item.
Okay. I think,
That's why it says FY 26 forecast. Year end forecast.
okay, thank you. Slide 26, there are some numbers here that were in negative, so classroom teachers. My question around this is that expected like teacher reduction based on like attrition?
Yes,
Okay.
good point.
And then the same thing for specialists?
Yes. I had that in my talking points, but I just skipped over it. So thanks for catching that.
Okay, and that is all the comments I have. Everything else is notes. Thank you so much.
Mr. Woodson, do you have any clarifying questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Traber had his hand up, so I'll go with him and I'll go to you. Oh, microphone, sorry.
Classroom teacher, this is a small space. I had one other clarifying question, which is you made a reference to seeking more alliance money. And I was struck at the leaving out seeking more ECS money. And I know Joe and I have discussed the need to increase the ECS formula, which hasn't been increased in 13 years.
Yes.
And so we believe that's a stronger argument. I don't disagree with, seeking to increase the alliance allocation because it too is inexplicably allocated. But the alliance is the ECS is a flat rate, and it hasn't been increased in 13 years. And it hasn't kept up with the cost of living. And if it did, it would equal a significant increase.
Yes.
We would be able to do everything we wanted to do and more. So we believe that should be done too. God bless you. And in order to do these arguments, as we've discussed at our very first meeting after the holidays, the city needs to demonstrate its commitment to the education of our children to the state in order to convince the state that we are committed here locally to the education of our children.
Yes.
So it's going to require the city to make a larger allocation. And as I believe it was Councilman Newton pointed out, the city's in the middle of its reval and the complexities of a revaluation and the establishment of a new mill rate and all that that's tied into that. So it's going to be a very complicated spring, so to speak.
Thank you.
And thank you for,
But I was struck at your solely referencing the alliance grants.
and thank you for that clarity. It's that formula, needs to be adjusted. And so that is going to be a fight that we're going to fight for sure. So I'm with you on that as well. It was just, we're diving into the numbers and just the advocacy piece in general. I just kind of generalized it, but oh yeah, that's what we need because that will give us the guarantee moving forward, the money that the district is needing. So that should have been gotten a long time ago. So absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. Thank you.
Mr. Sakalovic?
Yeah, just a clarifying question. This is the supplemental material you sent us in an email. I'll just go over the lines just to refresh your memory. It's lines 17 and 18 is grants, teachers, non-certified employees, MRF, Medicare increase, health insurance, assume 20% increase. And now we're transferring that to the general fund from the grants. Is that because there is no money in the grants and they've been lessened, or it's because the technical
Let me,
support team suggested we move that?
No, no one suggested that we move that. We know very well that Alliance grant, as far as we know, based on the state biannual budget, is flat funded for next year. Most of the major grants for now, as far as we know, we're assuming them to be flat funded. So the cost of living increase relative to wages of these grant employees and the health insurance increase, it's either we cut the grant programs by that much money, or we will flip, they will absorb those expenses of cumulatively, I think it's 5.9 million between the two. The grants will absorb it, and we will transfer some expenses from the grants to the operating budget. No matter how you cut it and slice it, the operating budget will absorb the 5.9 million ultimately. I just didn't want to muddle up the whole part.
And the
I
second,
just want people to know where the liability is coming from and what it would trigger.
last clarifying question, we've got, last year, you put the number of attrition savings at 4.583. Was that, did we save anything from attrition last year? All?
If you ask me honestly, I think we should be able to attain $1 million this year.
How much did we attain last year?
I'm talking about this year,
Yeah,
which is
last-
this year. Are you referring to this year or you're?
I'm referring to both because last year it appears we didn't save $1, but this year we got a $1.5 million projection of savings.
I think we're making a 1.5 is for next year.
Correct. Okay, let me start again. Last year.
Which is this year.
How much, yeah, this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
This
Thank you.
current fiscal year.
Thank you.
How much attrition savings did we save?
I'm estimating about $1 million because we filled most of the positions. The time lag in filling those positions, we should save some money.
Yeah, because that number seems, it's awfully close. 'Cause
No, 4.5 is, I mean, we had to fill 100 vacant positions.
I just wanted to gauge the realistic.
No, the realistic number.
Realisticness.
$1 million is
of the 1.5.
$1 million is attainable.
So $1 million is attainable, 500 might be.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, is there any questions while he's here, Mr. Steele's here for nutrition? Any questions? Okay, going once, twice. Okay, good. Thank you for presenting.
Guys, okay, thanks, everyone.
All right. We have 2 more items. All right, the next item on the agenda, thank you to everybody who presented tonight. Have a great night. The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible approval of creating an ad hoc committee regarding advocacy. This was brought to us by Mr. Traber, I believe. You referred this item. Do you want to speak to it a little bit? With your mic on?
Yeah, we've talked about sort of putting together an effort within this community to push for more money. You just heard us referencing it at the end of that presentation. We need to go to Hartford. We need to work in our city to talk to the leadership in the city about increasing the amount of money given to the schools. And so, insofar as I believe that would be appropriate for an ad hoc committee, as we've discussed about creating ad hoc committees, I'm proposing that we do an ad hoc committee for advocacy. It would be an open committee to include board members and non-board members, representatives of the board workforce, as well as members of the community. And it would be an open meeting that would be convened quickly because, as we know, the legislature starts next week. The first education committee open hearing on is in a little over 2 weeks. And we need to start things rolling. So I would propose that we do such a thing. That's what I have in mind.
Any questions on that? Any discussion, Mr. Sakala?
No, but would you like to make the motion?
I move that we create an ad hoc committee for advocacy to advocate for more money for the Bridgeport Public School budget.
All right, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on it? Can I get an idea, first of all, on any board members who want to be on that committee so that I can go ahead and assign it?
That's what I was
someone
gonna
else?
suggest. That's what I was gonna, that was gonna be my
I'm
discussion.
assuming, Mr. Traver,
Yeah.
since you created the
Yeah.
motion. Is there any other board members who would like to be a part of that ad hoc?
And I would like to be involved as well.
And Mr. Sakalovic. Others are free to join as well, but I can create the committee with those three for now, and then
Right, okay,
others can join as well, right?
back to the discussion.
Back to Mr. Taylor?
So just, there's a lot of activity going on throughout the state, and I know, there are some Bridgeport folks, I know the delegation, and I think, the city. So where would this fit in? So the messaging is really crystal clear. It's not the board has a message, the delegation has a message, then there's a statewide group that, the cities are working on and Bridgeport at the table. I don't know who I can come back just so that, I think that's one of the issues from an observer. You have all the groups and I get it, advocacy, but there has to be some unified. Where does the district, so how does that all interconnect? And maybe that's something you all will discuss, but I just want to offer that because then the message becomes fragmented. Still everyone advocating, but I would strongly urge the committee to really look at, and doesn't mean you all don't have your own voice, but really be crystal clear of what's not being said and how do you message it, because there are some groups that are happening in Bridgeport at the table just because of my other role. So just want to just offer that so it's connected. Doesn't mean Bridgeport, I know in the past, I think last year you all went up for like a Bridgeport day, just so, but then there's other pieces and how do you all still connect in? Because some people are having different meetings already with not just the state delegation, but state leadership.
Mr. Sakalovic and then. Mhm.
Yeah, to Mr. Daniel's point,
As the maker of the motion.
Oh. Mr. Traver.
Yeah, this would fit in as an open group created by the board. I don't know if the state delegation has held any meetings in Bridgeport with us. And so we would be happy to work with the state delegation. I know that the superintendent has been meeting with members of the state delegation, and we would too. This would be a group, an open group that the board would be convening. We also have been working with statewide groups in the state. Connecticut for All, which worked last year. We worked with them, which is a coalition of unions, community groups and church groups we worked with, and we will continue to work with. Some of us are going to a meeting on Saturday with them to talk about this, a meeting of public officials from various communities around the state to talk about what they're doing. So I think it's an ongoing thing within it, and we need to meet with the city group. And again, the superintendent has been meeting with the city leaders too, and we'll be working with, I know I've spoken with Anthony about sitting down with the mayor's office too. So I think it's an ongoing fluid situation of multiple efforts around the state, but we want to have a Board of Ed effort that we're coordinating to go forward too, to speak for the board.
Mr. Sakalovic.
ditto. Oh, said exactly what I was gonna say, but, yeah, it's, going back to that, particularly Rob, and the board, we've been all over the state with these various groups. And that being said, the messaging is pretty much consistent throughout. However, Bridgeport may have a different message and need different messaging than everybody else, because we nine sitting here are directly responsible, directly elected to advocate for Bridgeport Public School students. And sometimes that might be at the expense of somebody else's piece of the pie that we gotta go for. So this collaboration goes so far where the interests are aligned, But there's gonna be times where there's Bridgeport only interests that must be focused upon, especially with like your city advocacy pieces and all of that. And that's not gonna have we're not gonna have a good coalition with the city council. Historically, we haven't when we advocated for money for them, but the messaging gotta be on point. And I would suggest, with time being so short, that, the committee meets early, often, and we basically comprise it now, what staff we have and what's the format, and possibly think about expanding to include the superintendent, and when it's like a joint agreement between the committee and the superintendent, that the committee be empowered to act immediately because time is of an essence and we basically are behind the 8 ball on this.
Mr. Benningham, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's like the board is here, city council, city is here, legislature is here, and the state. What else they want from us? I know we give it everything what they want. They see, they know what, what we want. Dr. Avery and the team, present a big budget in these so many years and see how many superintendent, present budget. This budget for me, I see it's big. And you know that me and Joe, how many budget presentation we see. And it's not easy. I feel that what else they want, what else they need. We give it so they know what we want. How long are we gonna be waiting for this situation like that? I know it's a process. It's something you have to be, protocol. But I feel that they take forever to give us, not us, what they supposed to give to our children's, what we need in our staff. They take time and time is running. And I don't want later they say, oh, Bridgeport Public School, the board members, they are the one taking forever and they don't make decisions. When that's not true, they know we on top. We go back and forth. We're going through a lot of things. You know, we agree with us, agree. We're still like a team because we are for once, we're here for one situation because it's our kid. But my question is for the state legislature, city, not us because we know what we want, what we want to do. How long do we take this to be sure this is done, for our Bridgeport Public School? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I think, so there's a motion on the floor, to create the advocacy committee, and then there are some board members who'd like to join it. I like, the idea of making sure we're including the group. I like how you worded it, the community, members. I also think this should be, started yesterday, but, if you guys can start meeting, once I sign the board members, which I already will, next week. And if you can, once or twice a week, just to get different groups involved. Obviously you have to notice those meetings, but I think you should, if we vote on this today, we should get that started. And also make sure that we're all on the same page on what we're advocating for, like Mr. Daniel said. Because we don't want to go with different, if this committee is advocating for a certain amount, we want to make sure that the whole board is gonna go with that, okay? So keep that in mind as you're going forward. I would like to see if we do this committee, if the committee could work on, draft testimony for, the education committee and the appropriations committee, so that we can really get that sent out to, folks to submit, on behalf of Bridgeport. We had a good turnout last year, but I think, there was a lot of, there were a lot of other districts that turned out larger than us, and we really need to show up, and show out for Bridgeport. Mr. Traber?
Yeah, I think that, there are a couple of different ways to do that. And if you recall last spring, there was actually a teacher who created actually wasn't a teacher, it was a staff person who created a Q code that could be used for somebody to work on a testimony. So I think there are a couple of different interesting ways to do it to make it easy for somebody to sign up and write testimony. And we can do that quickly. And I don't think it's just that education committee hearing in 2 weeks. I think there's the possibility of us getting a bill before the appropriations committee too, which we're working on, and need to work on quickly. So I'm hoping to have something set up, tomorrow or Monday to explore that option too. So I agree with you, and I also think that it would be a matter of calling for an open meeting next week for anyone who's interested in attending. Scheduling an open meeting,
Seeing no further questions, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes. Next item on the agenda is a discussion of possible action of creating a superintendent search committee made up of the entire board as a committee of the whole and a representative of the Connecticut Commissioner's Office to carry out board statutory duties granted by CGS Chapter 170, Section 10-220. Thank you, Joe, for writing that out.
No worries.
Moved by Mr. Medina, seconded by Mr. Benningham, just to clarify that this committee can meet as a whole without, how do I word it? Without posting?
Without posting,
Yep.
it's free for you.
This is free of FOIA, thank you. So this is where we can really discuss next steps. And I also, think that this committee should also discuss how do we get to like changing our narrative as a board, so that when we go out there and put the search together, we can, sorry, I've got this, sorry, guys. So when we go out there and put the search together, we really know what we want in a superintendent. So I think part of this search committee should include that piece before we go and sign a contract. And really know what we're looking for as a board. So I think as we do this, we really need to sit down and put some thought and discussion on this. Mr. Sakalovic.
Yeah, just a little history in case people missed it. Chair Perez, myself, and Secretary Extramural Jimenez, we met with the state. And while they did not recommend that we go out for superintendent search, they know that they cannot prohibit us from doing such a search. They could always refuse our choice. However, I do want to move forward. I think we should move forward with this search. This is the second. We need to move quickly. I disagree with Chair Perez's modification that we should make moving on as a board as part of this process, because it's not an either or thing. It's something that could be done simultaneously. There are districts right now choosing superintendents all across the state. If we wait too long to start our search, we'll be picking from leftovers. And Bridgeport deserves better than getting the leftovers that other districts don't want. That's not negating anybody. Everybody's welcome to apply, our superintendent included, and everybody needs to be weighed against each other. But right now, we have no current superintendent that was picked by the community, the staff, or the board, frankly. We've got an interim that the board put in place, and he deserves a chance to apply and be weighed and vetted by the community and put in place, or if somebody outshines him in the interview process, then put in place. Because if we wait for Bridgeport to get his stuff together to start a search for a superintendent, we'll never be searching.
Further questions? Mr. Daniels, do you have a question? I saw you turn your mic on. Comments, questions?
Yeah, I guess the only concern I have to your point though, if you're saying we risk the state not selecting our choice, that concerns me. I don't know how that works. You all were in the meetings.
Right. But when we as a board start making decisions for fear of what the state's gonna do, the state has already took over and made that decision. Right now, the state has made the decision by refusing to let us go out for a search to make Dr. Avery the superintendent until they decide we are okay to go even look for someone else. That's not saying that Dr. Avery will not be the choice. Let me be clear on that. But we deserve to have that chance. And if they want to refuse Dr. Avery, or if they want to refuse our choice, then that lands on them. Then that would land on Governor Ned Lamont
Okay,
going up into his election.
Mr. Tabor?
Um, the other side of that coin though is that, Dr. Avery may decide to pull up his stakes and leave. He- You can't hear me? Oh,
He's not here.
I thought, I'm sorry. The other side of that is that Dr. Avery may pull up stakes and leave. I mean, there's a limit to how long the man will stay. He is an interim superintendent who has been left hanging and has made it clear that he would like the job, but he may not stay forever. He made it, as an example, his lease expired in January. I don't know what he did, but, you know, there's a limit to how long he wants to stay around as the interim superintendent. He has family in Texas. He has other offers that he could pursue. He has not, in the hopes that he could apply and get this job. He's not guaranteed this job, but he has made it clear that he would hope to stay. And the longer we keep waiting, the greater the possibility that he may or may not stay. And so we're juggling this, what's gonna happen? And we don't know. The commissioner may be perfectly happy if we go through a search process and pick a new candidate that she likes or Dr. Avery that she likes. We don't know. And so we can't keep operating in limbo land. So we might as well pursue, while we're doing the other things that they would like us to do. Um, to me, that seems the most prudent course, that we continue to do the things that they're recommending that we do while we also begin the process of searching, because this is prime search season. And if we wait 2 months, then we'll be getting the sort of tail end of the search season.
I think we could do this tactfully, where we can really create our narrative where we sell our district to this person, whoever it is, whether it's Dr. Avery, whether it's another candidate. Include the state. That's what the motion was, to include the state, the commissioner's office in this process. And, you know, go from there. Mr. Benahan. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really, oh my God, I'm tired to say this, but I don't get tired to say it. And thank you, Joe, for that information, and Ms. Ferris, he managed to go over there. There's a policy that get the board members, us, we cannot search, superintendent, because what I understand, and be so many years as a second term as a board member and be in the district, I never see a policy they cannot let us do it. If they're not let us do it, how come another town, they really did it because they have new superintendent, stuff like that. And it's a process, it's a protocol that we're searching Dr. Avery, whoever come, that's not the problem. But no, the commissioner and the Hartford, they know we have a man in short time in trying to work with us and try the best they can and be on top there. Like as always, I say, why they hold our hands, they're trying to hold our hands, not be searching a superintendent. Also, I know if we have a credit and we lost that credit because they hold us, not be searching. So if that happened, and again, let's see, we start searching a superintendent, who's gonna pay that? Where the money coming from? Of course, they're gonna say from the board, but why we lose that credit because the state say, oh, you cannot do it. But I would like to see if there is a policy or something. And I don't want to make that policy next week or another day
There was
that
a
they come,
resolution.
like they say, we're gonna be searching. So I never see it. I
It
just
was
want
in
to
the
see it.
resolution last year when they shared it with us when it showed document. Mr.
Hold on,
Sakala,
I'm not finished yet, please. I'm not finished yet. But the thing is that if that theory stay with us, I'm in. And whoever come, it's gonna be something I feel like we're gonna start over again because we don't know what kind of agenda the person come. And God bless whoever come. And God bless it Dr. Avery, stay. But we have to understand, board members, my colleagues, my friends, and the community, and everybody, parents, staff, and everyone. We have somebody here that he don't give up.
Pause you there. Before we start talking about candidates.
Yeah.
We have to start a search committee.
No, yeah,
we
no,
should-
I agree with you. Yeah, you're absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause
Like I
that's
said,
their
it's a
fault they committed.
protocol. Yeah, it's a protocol. It's
So let's
a
not talk
way.
about candidates.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. Let's do it. But I don't want they hold our hand. We cannot do it. And like I say, everyone, whoever's listening to us, they have to understand this gentleman here, he want to do the best for our children, and whoever come, we have to see what we have now because we don't start over it again. I know we work, each one of us, we work very hard, and it's not easy what we're going through to trying to hold our hands, not do our job as a board member. We are because we are elected for the community. We are not elected from the city, from the mayor, from the state, and from nobody. We're elected for the community. So, like as always, I say, I work for my community. Let's listen to the community what they want. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Skalvik.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify something. That was a bit of a misstatement. The resolution never contained the words to stop us from searching for a superintendent. That's what they said. But as you know, when we were sitting in that meeting, paper right in front of them, I asked them to point out where you are empowered to stop us from searching. He said it's not there. That power never existed. What happened was the state bluffed and we crumbled. So now it's time to stop crumbling, do what we need to do for our districts, get ourselves a permanent superintendent because they made a big deal of turnover. But now they're not allowing us to find a new superintendent. And fun fact, the turnover started with them firing our longest serving superintendent when they took over last time.
Further questions or discussion? Mr. Medina, excuse me.
You guys refresh my memory, but I want to make sure if some of you did hear this, and I don't know if it came to that meeting or after or just before, that somebody did speak to that search firm. Apparently, they said that we're willing to honor that guarantee that we had.
We
Um,
have to bring that through legal. So
I'm sorry?
we have to bring that through legal. And I think when we start the search committee, we can put that in the search committee. But we're bringing it,
I just
yeah,
want to make sure that
we're gonna bring it to legal to clarify if that contract is still honored.
Okay, so let me just rephrase my question because I think I've made it more of a statement than a question, but I just want to make sure. I'm saying that that it was told to us that they spoke, and I believe it was the state, that they spoke to the firm and they're willing to honor and do that guarantee that we had. I don't know what any lawyer would have to vet that. If they're willing to honor it, then it's their choice to honor it. It's not, I don't think it needs to be vetted by legal, but I understand what you just said, but I thought that's what was shared with us. That's what I want to bring out because I know that was shared with us. I'll go back to the minutes, whatever it was, but I just want to make sure I hold those words in my mind, in my memory, that was stated. So we should take advantage of it if that was stated because that was the words that were shared with us. That's all. Thank you.
Ms. Esther Mara Jimenez.
So I mentioned that it's on, I mentioned that as a update in the last meeting. The state's lawyer said that to us, but we have not confirmed that with the last search firm. And if we're gonna be incurring cost, we need to clarify and verify with them. So, so just wanted to answer that question, but it came from that meeting. Yep.
Mr. Skalvik, or who, was it you? Oh, Skalvik.
Right. Yeah, that all this being said, everything else could be discussed if in fact we do approve this motion this evening on creating a superintendent search committee made up of board as a committee of the whole and a representative of the Connecticut Commissioner's Office to carry out the board's statutory duties granted by CGS Chapter 170 and 10-220.
I think it's been moved already and seconded.
Has it?
It was moved and seconded, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but thank you for reading again.
Okay, all right. So,
It was long.
all right. So I called the question.
All right, well, I was gonna take the vote anyways. Do you want to call the question so we can take two votes, or do you want me to just take the vote?
No, get it.
Okay, let's take a vote on the motion. All in favor to approve the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so that's been moved.
Final thought and on subject, please reach out to the commissioner, but end the day tomorrow.
Mhm.
Inform the commissioner of our vote tonight and ask her if she wants to have a representative present. She's
Mhm.
more than welcome to send a representative when we start meeting, either in person or online. She is going to be included in the process. We are not trying to hide anything from her. We are trying to do our jobs for the citizens of Bridgeport and the children of Bridgeport.
Last item is a motion to adjourn.
No.
Moved by Mr. Chakalovic, seconded by Mr. Van. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? We are adjourning at 9:43. Have a great night. You guys have a 2-hour delay tomorrow. Congratulations.
Hace frío.
Stay warm.